All right. Good afternoon, HB Business. We're back again. Another live stream. Great to kind of see you all. We've got a fun agenda planned for you. If you haven't already, pop into the Q&A and get your questions in early. We're joined by Christie Phelan this month, and we are going to chat a little bit about the Business Academy. So you may have heard some rumblings already, some little teasers out in your meetings, maybe on ATB Connect, here and there. So if you want to get some questions in, make sure that you pop them in the Q&A. You can find that in the live stream meet in your calendar. Before we get started, I'm going to kick us off with a land acknowledgement. So we acknowledge that we live, learn, work, and play on the traditional territories of Treaty 6, 7, and 8, which has been a gathering place to a diversity of First Nations for thousands of years, and also the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation of Alberta and 8 Métis settlements. We acknowledge all nations, Indigenous and non, who live, work, and play on this land, and who honor and celebrate this territory. This sacred gathering place provides us with an opportunity to engage in and demonstrate leadership on reconciliation. So thank you all for joining our live stream today and from across the province. Amber Busby. So previously part of our small business team, Amber has moved to the diversified team as part of our small business transition at the beginning of July. And I've already had the privilege of hearing this amazing story, but I'm excited for her to join us today and share that with the rest of the business team. So Amber, over to you. Welcome to the live stream.
Thanks, Melissa. Yeah, I wanted to share a story today that represented a successful prospect that I had attained through providing a support channel to the organization, both from an advisory standpoint and strong relationship building. So at the beginning of each year, I like to create a prospect list to help me set personal goals for myself, as well as, of course, attaining new business for ATB. A few months ago, I'd started approaching one of those nonprofits that happened to be a religious organization on my list. I basically seeked out their website to learn a bit more about them, and at which point I reached out to the organization, a point of contact that I found on the website. Wasn't the right person at the beginning, but they were able to steer me in the right direction of someone that managed the banking relations. And so after a few attempts were made on my end, of course, everyone gets busy. They were willing to make some time for me to meet with them. And so I'd set up a meeting with them to meet up at their place of worship. And I basically brought together a solution for them in terms of a presentation on how ATB could help them enhance their banking experience. I'd also determined that, which was a bit of a fluke, it wasn't, I would say, active. They weren't actively looking for new business solutions at that time, or rather banking solutions, but they were definitely open to it. They weren't necessarily being supported by their current financial institution, which I was able to determine through our conversation. And based on that, I was able to kind of show ATB's story. I built a package that I was able to speak to on terms of what our cash management solutions are, how that can better improve their experience, as well as determining that a new facility was required in order for them to purchase another piece of real estate in Calgary to expand their place of worship. And so based on my level of expertise and advisory skills, they were quite impressed with, I guess, my level of commitment in continuing to make those touch points with them. And they appreciated that they'd never actually had those open conversations with an advisor before that was willing to teach them so much about, from, I guess, a cash management standpoint, as well as a financing perspective. And so in turn, I was able to showcase ATB's value proposition quite well. And we went over the business and we're just kind of in the process of bringing them over as we speak.
Thanks so much for I need more coffee. Thanks so much for sharing that story, Amber. I really love that one. And I think it ties in really well to what we're here to chat about today. Before we get into that, Chris, I'm going to pass it to you. I think you probably have some more questions or dig into that story there.
Yeah, and I've had enough coffee, so hopefully I don't get tongue twisted quite as much as you. Thanks a lot for sharing, Amber. It's a great story for a number of reasons for myself, and I've had an opportunity to hear about it. So just first off, a kudos to you for taking the step, embracing the new opportunity, and sort of diving in. So I know we hear great stories of team members all across ATB Business doing that. So I want to thank you and all of the team members for doing that and jumping in to help and serve our clients. A few things that really stuck out for me from a client's perspective is I'll take it actually back to the advisory journey. In the advisory journey, we talk about adding value and you recognizing which options to talk to the clients about and educating the clients to really show the clients the value that we could provide as ATB really became critical for me in this story, as well as this whole notion from an advisory standpoint, this expertise that we bring to the table. And I think the more often we're able to provide value through the expertise, really becomes this magical equation for us. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing the story. And thank you so much for everything that you do from that standpoint. So I will steal a few minutes before we do pass it over to Christie just to provide a few updates and go from there. It's interesting. I look outside and had a chance this morning to join Brian Rabick. So huge thanks to Brian and the real estate team. So I also apologize as some of my material, and it's probably not going to be any different. So don't tune out because Christie's got some great stuff to talk about, but some of my stuff may be a bit of a repeat. But at the end of August, you look out and it's a beautiful summer day, highs of 25 across the province. And for me, it is that Staples commercial of the most wonderful time of the year. It's the most wonderful time of the year because it is back to school. So my 14-year-old is going back to school, which is great because I think Dad is a little bit tired of the schedule she's been keeping and not sort of getting up at a decent hour and not doing things that are productive according to her dad, which sort of brings this sadness to the end of summer holidays. So I hope everyone has been able to take some time and enjoy what have been the last 5 or 6 weeks of just an incredible summer across the province in Alberta. I know a team member shared some pictures today of a holiday that they're on, enjoying some sun just outside of Alberta, but I hope everyone's been able to take some time and rest and relax, because for us to do our best each and every day, it's critically important that we find this balance of making sure we're able to rest and relax. And if you haven't through the summer, hopefully you've got some time planned coming up from that standpoint. So also just a huge thank you to all the team members who have done such an incredible job. I am given the great fortune to talk to our board of directors about all of the amazing accomplishments that over the 800 plus team members at ATB Business do each and every day. And I can say from that standpoint, the board is really, really happy in terms of the results. They're happy with where we are today and happy with what's going on, and that's due to the incredible work that every team member across ATB Business does. So a huge thank you for all the work that you do each and every day to make it possible for our clients and also to make it possible for each other, as we know that support we provide each other is so critical from there. Sort of three main themes I'll talk about from the board meetings, and not all of them did we have answers to, but some of them the board would have challenged us to think about. And at a meet and greet here in Edmonton today, that Sherry, thank you so much, Sherry, for putting together a lot of conversation around this, and that is work from home and return to work, and what is that right balance from that standpoint. Some of you may have read that the CEO of RBC came out with a commentary around that the current amount of time people are coming into the office wasn't the ideal situation from his perspective. And that was one of the things the board challenged us on. So, we're waiting for September when we know things start to come back to normal a little bit, when summer holidays are over and routine starts to settle in, to see where we are from that standpoint. So, nothing has changed at this time. I think the board just challenged us with great questions, and we'll wait for September and see what that is. And our goal all along is how do we create an environment where team members can do their best work each and every day, and we can truly differentiate based on the client experience. And that part's not going to change. We just have to unpack where that is once this sort of notion of some sort of degree of regularity returns from that standpoint. Lots of conversation around momentum. We've seen the dramatic increases in interest rates over a short period of time, and what is the momentum? Is there enough momentum to continue to work its way through to deal with some of those interest rate increases? What does it look like? What are our clients saying as they're trying to navigate this environment? I was really happy to be able to speak to the board about the great conversations that our team members are having each day, sort of counseling and advising our clients in terms of what they need to do, how they need to position their businesses to make sure that they're positioned not only to deal with the short-term interest rate shocks, but really long-term success. So was able to provide the board confidence in terms of how clients are doing, and that we believe there's enough momentum behind us in results that we think it's going to finish to be a strong year. And the third piece the board we would have talked about was just market conditions. And the market conditions we're going through, we know impacts the different aspects of our business. From capital markets are impacted in a different way, whether that's financial markets, investment banking, compared to our spread business from there. And quite frankly, as a business, as ATB, that's something new for us to sort of manage through. We've got these great other parts of our business that have been so critical and so important. As we've seen sort of more challenging market conditions, we need to continue to sort of increase our ability to navigate through those different market conditions from that standpoint. So lots of good dialogue for there. I'll say the board's really happy with the way we're positioned, how we're in the right place when things turn around to drive long-term success. So I'll say overall, from a board standpoint, it was a bit of an uneventful quarter, which is probably a great quarter from that perspective. And that those were the big three things that the board was talking about, was really working from home, the momentum, and then how are we dealing with these new market conditions. I did talk to the board about the three sort of most popular questions I received in the last 6 weeks, as I think as interested as they were in the business results from the first quarter. When you have a big transition, they want to know how the transition is going. And the first question I get, and we received it lots today, which is, how are you doing? And it was interesting. I said it wasn't until returning from, the week at the Stampede of getting to meet, sort of hundreds of clients and hundreds of team members, that I realized I probably wasn't doing a great job describing my excitement in the move to ATB Business. At the time, all of us that have left different roles know that there's always a sort of a bittersweet part. It's, you're leaving a role, you're leaving team members and getting to interact with them in a different way. So there's a bit of bitterness around that, but there's excitement. And I think I realized explaining it to people that way wasn't really doing justice for just how excited I was to join ATB Business. Just the excitement to being back working with clients. I was reminded of that during the Stampede. Excited to continue the work to bring 3 lines of business together. And at the Stampede and over the last 6 weeks, I got to see the synergies of those 3 different business units coming together. Hearing the story that we just heard today and the stories over the last weeks, it's really about bringing that advisory journey to life, to make sure that we're able to differentiate based on the experience we're providing to our clients, to make it possible for our clients, and finally to make really a whole ton of money for the organization. All of those things provide me great excitement. So I'm in a fantastic place, really excited, and have received tremendous support from all team members across ATB Business. But a huge shout out to the senior leadership team from Myron and Darren and John and Brian and Christie, and could go on, as well as the partners, and Melissa and Kristen as well, have been absolutely fantastic. The second question is, how are team members doing? I said, I think it's naive to say they're as excited as I am, because I don't think I'm that exciting. So I don't think team members are that excited. But I think from my perspective, getting the chance to speak for 800 team members in business, the fact that the operating plan's not changing, that it is a commitment to the great work that we've done and the great work that's been put in place, and how do we remove barriers. I do believe that that's provided a level of comfort, knowing things aren't changing from that standpoint. I think at the same time, a recognition of just the great work team members have done is critical. But it's also important for us to recognize team members are coming through 2.5 years of COVID. That's with the declaration, or if you think COVID's over, that's a whole separate debate I won't get into. But team members have been through navigating COVID, and then obviously uncertainties. So it's up for us as leaders to make sure we earn the trust and respect of team members each and every day. And that's the commitment from there. And then lastly is, what are the plans? And, sort of 6 weeks in, what are these grand plans? And my reassurance to the board and once again to everyone on the call is we're not changing the operating plan, right? My focus for the remainder of the year is digging in with the leaders to make sure we're in a great position to deliver on our operating plan. As the rest of the enterprise requires us, as we play a big role across ATB, and require us to deliver on that operating plan. So whatever I can do to support that is where a huge focus is. Now that September's around the corner, hope to get out and see many more team members and clients. So if you have anything, feel free to reach out. I can't make promises, but in terms of when I'll be able to join, but would love to connect with as many team members as I can over the next little while from that standpoint. And then lastly, it's really just continuing to dig in with the SBLT in terms of, as we look to transition from the first 3 years of our 10-year strategy to the middle innings, and how do we make sure we build on the strong momentum that's happened, but look to these middle innings that you'll hear Curtis start to talk about from a strategic standpoint. So that in 6 minutes or less, or a little bit more than that, is sort of a recap of the board meeting. At the end, if there's any questions, I would love to answer them. But I think, Melissa, I'm going to turn it back to you, or straight over to Christie to talk about the Business Academy.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I love that recap. And I think to several of your points there's still amazing work happening within business. And I know Myron had popped in the Q&A. He's headed down to Lethbridge. And one of the things, just a quick plug, if it hasn't been shared, the Lethbridge market, they're doing a Greater Good water drive. So I'm sure it's not news to anybody that it's been very hot all around Alberta for the last little while. So our Lethbridge market, up until Friday, they're actually collecting water donations. So the Lethbridge Food Bank, Interfaith Food Bank, and the Streets Live Mission, they were actually out of water. So anybody in the Lethbridge area, if you're hanging out down there, you can drop off a water donation or connect with one of the Lethbridge folks to make a donation to get some water down for our friends there in Lethbridge. So I thought that was pretty cool. And Myron's headed down to check that out as well. So all sorts of great work happening around our business here. And yeah, I am going to kick it on over to Christie. I will share my screen and you can run us through a little intro to the Business Academy.
Thank you kindly, Melissa. So yes, I'm Christie Phelan. For those of you who don't know me, I am in the business adaptation team working on the pillar of strategy and performance enablement. And within that, we have our Business Academy in the business enablement team. I just have a few slides to walk you through, but frankly, it's going to be more conversational as a challenge though, because it's the screen. So I am hoping that there will be some good questions or some comments coming through. And to just start off, I just wanted to say I'm just so excited to be here in this moment today. We have kind of done a soft launch, sort of like a soft restaurant opening over the past few months. The team began some of this work in the last fiscal and early start of this one, and we had some very intentional reasons for why some people have been engaged in some of the learnings already. And, that was to support some of our operating plan objectives and moving some team members through some skill capability and whatnot. But we're here today to officially launch Business Academy. And so I'm going to kind of walk you through how it all fits and sits within the system across ATB, and then what we're looking forward to within this fiscal and future. So with that, of course, learning and development are key for our long-term success. And we are here, my team, led by Olivia Pavel, is here to ensure that you have timely and easy access to information, resources, training, and development to be successful in your role. Because of course, we're only successful if you're successful. So I'm going to start with a couple of examples for you to visualize what we're working on here. Paint a little story picture here. So imagine you are an RM in the business banking pillar. You are preparing for a client meeting. And as you're reviewing their financials, you notice strong revenue growth over the last 5 years, but also an increase in fixed costs. And you wonder how long the client is going to be able to sustain growth without eroding their profitability. And if only there was some training that you could take in financial analysis to dig a little bit deeper. Or imagine you're in a meeting with a client and they make a random comment about revenue fluctuations and how it's impacting their business. What if you could help them get daily or regular market updates, or get advice on managing the risks of foreign exchange fluctuations? How about creating certainty through customized hedging solutions? So those are the types of scenarios that I just kind of want to paint. And if you don't see yourself in those examples, I can assure you as I walk through some of the information here, you'll see where you might fit, because Business Academy is going to serve the entirety of our business line. So you may have heard about Business Academy, like I said, and you may be wondering, what is it? When can I see it? How can I get in there? How can I touch it? And I'm going to do a quick little myth bust on something. So Business Academy is a concept, it's a framework, and it's the umbrella for our learning and development strategy within ATB Business. So a lot of things actually roll up and underneath the umbrella term of Business Academy. So I just want you to kind of walk with that as well. So I believe on the screen right now, let me just toggle. Yes, on the screen right now, you can see that there are various academies across ATB, which you may have heard of from other areas like P&C. So there's the core academy domain, which is where we kind of come in, advisory and leadership. And I wanted to bring this forward just to remind everybody that the way that we're putting all of this work together is extraordinary. And there's great alignment between our work and the work that other teams across ATB are doing in developing team member skills. So for example, the P&C team will be coming out in a very big way in September. I had a chat with Tracy Millard this week, and they're going to be launching a lot to do with the core learning skills as they apply across the enterprise. They'll be spending time on the launch of data literacy and subsequently digital fluency across the organization. So these things are very interconnected, and we're not doing things in silos. We are still in early stages of launching critical learning for team members, but each of the academy owners are partnering to ensure we have a streamlined experience for the team members. And the goal is that you won't have to hunt and peck all across of Connect to find the information that you need. However, early stages. So just know that there will be iterations over time as we start to stitch all of these various things together. Excuse me. So this brings me back to the Business Academy. So Business Academy includes a series of deliverables, such as facilitated clinics, self-directed learning, internal knowledge transfer, and learning on the job, as well as tools and resources available to you in a central information repository that you can access quickly when you need to. Melissa, I think you can actually pop through the next slide. So this is the enterprise view of learning. So as I said, everything kind of, excuse me, stitches together there between leadership, client experience, risk, digital, and data. And then if you want to pop to the next one, so I'm going to drop down into what is the ATB Business FY23 learning focus. And so Business Academy, as it is today, will continue to evolve based on our needs. And for the time being, however, ATB Business learning priorities for the current fiscal year include the following skill categories. And I'm just going to kind of take a pop out for a second. So the skill categories, as a reminder, they were based on the job architecture work that we did last year and launched in the fall. And that was including the skill gap analysis provided by the Boston Consulting Group. So all of this has quite a bit of depth of research underneath of it. And that's what drove us to select the top 5 things that you'll see me kind of pop through here. So business fundamentals, that includes financial analysis and credit fundamentals. And so this is one where I think we have the most team members involved in right now. You may already be enrolled in CFI, which is the Corporate Finance Institute. It's a really, I think it's a really awesome platform. We've been getting great feedback on it, hearing that the courses are almost addictive. You kind of go in and you try your hand at them. We've had quite a number of people realize that they also mean business, and you can't just sort of fluff your way through them. Like, we're actually driving for a really heightened level of skill attainment. And so those courses are designed to engage team members in a way that you're retaining that information and you're kind of tested on it as you go. So it's pretty exciting. And that one is more self-directed training to address that skill category. The next one is business development and client relationships. So this is around enabling team members to develop meaningful value add client relationships. And most client-facing team members, as well as client support, will attend facilitated training with Stephen Gregory through the Isaacs Technologies. So we've had Steve in our ecosystem, I'd say, for quite a few years. I think even since I started at ATB about 6 years ago. So he was really familiar with the historical AOEs. And so he was brought back to the table to bring us at an accelerated pace forward in some of the training that we wanted to deliver. So it's nice that we have Stephen with us again to move us along. And I know there's been some team members already working with him through the training and the facilitated connections that he's putting together. Next up, we have product knowledge. So supporting team members to apply product knowledge to customize client solutions. So some of these examples would include things like our FX training within the financial market space and merchant training for business solutions. There's obviously more to come in both of those areas, but again, back to the premise of the domain skills, this is where we really dive in to understand what are the specific things that business needs within the roles that we have to support those in those positions and others that network in with them, including adaptation. We're the shoemaker's kids, of course, but we're last to kind of go in terms of our assessment, but we're working on it right now. And for us, we think about the team members and the leaders as our internal clients. So we tap into some learning and training, and we're putting on the table things like project management training, negotiation and influencing courses, along with presentation skills. So adaptation will also be getting an infusion of skills training coming up here. And then standardizing the advisor routines. So that's not necessarily the advisor of the future. There is plenty of work happening in that space that I'm involved in, but this is helping team members optimize their practice by leveraging tools, technology, and best practices. And this skill category involves a combination of change management practices and learning as we're introducing new technologies that will help us on a long-term basis. Things like the ECRM space, TRBK, SB Express, WRPT, and more. So lots in that space in this year. And then finally, elevating leadership capabilities. So this also is something Tracy wanted me to shout out, is the inclusive leadership training that's going on. There's been some notes on that out on Connect that you can check into. You can do some pre-work on Degreed. And then for leaders, there's also going to be some further modules, I think, in courses happening in the fall here. So that the elevated leadership capabilities for us includes leading change, performance culture, team member well-being, and creating a compelling vision. And so all of those things kind of combined create everything that kind of sits and fits under the Business Academy. So in addition, so this is the exciting part, I'm sure, is we are introducing a Business Academy landing page that includes the learning pathways as well as the tools and resources available to you in a one-stop shop to make it easy for you to do your job. And as I said, it kind of will continue to iterate and evolve over time. We are going to be launching a Connect post tomorrow to introduce the page. I didn't want everybody just like turning off this live stream midway through and sliding over to Connect and checking it out. So we're going to actually launch it tomorrow and also give people time, if they're not live right now, they can check out this live stream and catch it tomorrow. We're going to dedicate a business advisory series to the Business Academy in September to continue to share more information with everybody. And as always, like, we are a feedback hub. So if you see anything missing or something's not working or what have you, please by all means reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help out with that. And as well, we recognize that learning is a long-term investment. I think ATB as an enterprise has started to shift the narrative back to this as a learning organization. We had a lot of things to focus on for the last number of years, and learning was all part of that, but we want to make it a bit more straightforward and functional. So we are looking at the entire year. We want to pace out so that we don't do too much too soon. And we are considering the pace of change and pace of absorption for team members. And so our commitment to you is to introduce learning for up to about 5% of your time, which is about 2 hours of learning per week. And of course, that fluctuates depending on role and competency and things that you might need. So just kind of keep that in mind, though, like where can you carve out space to make the investment in yourself through the learning platforms. And so I'm not going to go into much more detail. We don't have a lot of time, but just continue to work with your leaders and to check out what we're posting, and we'll make sure that you have line of sight to everything going on in the Academy. And congratulations to the team that's been working on this. Olivia and your group has been instrumental in pulling all of this forward and has done so in a really great way. So I look forward to hearing about your experiences with the platform over time. Thank you.
Thanks so much for sharing, Christie. And yeah, if anybody has questions for Christie or about Business Academy, Chris on his download on what happened board week, feel free, pop them in the chat. We do have one that we can get started on if you're ready, Chris. I'll toss this over to you. Vikash has posted, is there any plans to condense the corporate office spaces in Calgary and Edmonton? He loves coming in to the corporate office on a daily basis. However, has noticed several offices empty versus what was evident in the pre-pandemic. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah. So first, I think we have to find a better word than download. That sounds quite robotic and not near as exciting as I hope I am for team members. So perhaps I have to do some practicing and work on that, Melissa. We'll take that offline. So with regards to the question about, sort of pre-COVID and post-COVID and the number of team members coming in, and what can we do to make it a more exciting place to come in? So I think there's two things. And as I talked about, we're going to wait till September and see if the numbers change a little bit from what we saw over the summer with summer holidays, with sort of 2 months of nice weather here in Alberta, people getting out and enjoying, and that we do believe we'll still see levels that are sort of lower than what we had pre-pandemic. And as a result, what are some of the things that we can do to entice people to come downtown? What are some of those things that we can do to make sure the people that are coming down are working in an engaging environment? I know for myself, coming downtown, and when you don't see anyone else, you do question why you've come downtown. So in September, we will look at doing some things to create some excitement, to create some more traffic. The real estate team is looking at, does it make sense in certain areas, specifically at ATV Place in Edmonton, of reducing our floor plan. The challenge right now is there's not a lot of uptake on subleasing different floors. So we would have to turn some of those floors just dark. But if that creates a better team member experience, that is something that we're looking at and considering at this time. But really probably a more fulsome update in, I'll say, October, when we get some of the numbers from September. We see what some of our competitors are doing, and we see what some of the downtown businesses are doing, whether that's Edmonton or Calgary as well.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think even for me, it's just getting back into the swing of things in summer, and everybody's on vacation and it's kind of spotty. So once I think we're back into the swing of things in fall, and just having that flexibility. I sit right by my patio. So working from home, sometimes it's nice to be able to pop out there now and again too between meetings. So can't do that in the office. Once the weather kind of turns a bit, then we'll get some more people back in there. So we've got another question that just popped in, so we can stop me rambling there a little bit. This is from Anonymous. Christie, maybe you can jump in a little bit on this one. Is how is CFI and Business Academy related to each other? That's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. I've been trying to perfect an analogy for this because I end up just typically waving my hands around and gesticulating about an umbrella. But really what it is Business Academy would effectively be like the campus. It would be the space that you're going to get any of the learning that you need. And CFI itself would be, let's call it like a wing of the campus, or like a wing in the hospital. Like you're going in there and you're going to go get your bones set. You're going to the osteo section. So that's what CFI is. It takes care of certain needs for you in that space. And so CFI, I think a lot of people have heard about it, and we're getting a lot of attention around it. And people are saying, can I have it? Can I have it? Can I have it? And it's, you might need it, you might not. And so Janelle Huddenfield on my team, she's actually done a really good job of analyzing every single course that they have against every single role that we have, and seeing where it might fit, also against that job architecture or skill gap analysis that we did to see where should we actually put our shoulder. And so essentially it's just the offering inside the entirety of the academy itself, which is the landing page, let's call it, for simpler terms.
All right, thanks for that. So with Business Academy, you mentioned we're going to learn a little bit more about that tomorrow. What are you most excited about, Christie? You alluded that your team as business adaptation, as the shoemaker's children, what are you most excited to dig into when we all get access to Business Academy?
I'm really excited for the intention behind it. I really enjoy the realism of the data that we've been receiving. And so I think we've had a few little surprises along the way. So we did the job architecture with the skill gap analysis. And of course, everybody wants to, it's a vulnerable place for people to be as well. Everybody wants to be 100% in on their job. They want to be, doing it at 150% of effort and perfection and all of this. And I think sometimes that's just not reality. Like, we need to know that we're moving this needle, we're moving this far forward, we're changing, our 10-year strategy is driving us into the future. We're talking about advisor of the future. So I'm really excited about equipping team members and leaders with the skills that they need to actually activate that. And we'll do it over time. We'll have our annual operating plans, we'll have our 3-year plans, we'll have our 10-year plans, but it's an iterative time investment on a continuum that will, I think, allow us to really drive and lift all boats. I think there's something about when you send people to a conference, you send them and they learn something. Unless they're bringing it back and sharing it with everybody, we're not lifting all boats. And so in this way, we're looking at the entirety of our team members and our leaders and saying, not everybody has to be at the same place, but everybody's going to be able to get something from it. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm also excited about the fact that we can take some time to do this, because the last couple of years have been a little wild. And although always busy, I think we can look for ways that we can carve out time and space for this investment. And I really talk about it in that way, that it's an investment in yourself. I think learning is all about that, learning something different, talking about different ideas with each other, bouncing, what did you take away from that versus not? And I think it also helps us get structured and streamlined around expectations and whatnot. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to the long-term, the longitudinal, I guess, aspect of this, and seeing how we stick with it for the next number of years and how this will drive us into like our next opportunities for ATB.
Great. We do have a couple more questions just popped in. Kelly is asking, it was recently brought to my attention that ATB Business and Adaptation have put a hold on all new job postings. Can you shed some light on this? Chris, do you have anything that you could share? Maybe Christie, I saw you come off mute.
I'll let Christie go first, and then I'll add comments after.
Sure. I'm going to bring the answer to adaptation. We haven't put a hold on all the new job postings, actually. We've just spent some time actually with our finance partners, making sure we're on task, on budget for this year. We've made a couple of changes based on just where were we and where are we going. Adaptation is certainly a function that is part of the journey. And I think sometimes we've looked at things, for example, in the project management space, thinking, we could probably handle a couple people, and then realizing everything that comes off that operating plan, we support. And how are we going to support that with our best intentions and stay on time, on budget, on scope, that type of thing. And so we've definitely looked at which positions we want to keep going with, and maybe if we needed to make a pivot or change, but we don't actually have like a moratorium in place to stop all of our postings. But I'll put it to you, Chris, and see what you want to add to that.
Yeah. So I think it's it's important for people to understand that the start of the year in the business plan or the operating plan for ATB Business, we did see quite a large increase in the FTE to help support our growth plans. That has not changed. We haven't looked at the results at the end of the first quarter and said, we need to pare that back. We need to look at that differently from that standpoint. I think rightfully so. There's great conversations in different parts of the business that, market conditions are impacting in different ways. Is now the right time to continue to expand? Those conversations are really on a one-off basis, but there has been no group across ATB Business that we've said we don't want to continue on the growth plans that we had set at the start of the year. I will say I do have a bias that the one thing that I don't want us ever to have to do is yo-yo people. And that is hire a bunch of people and then in 12 months be in a position where we're looking at those people and we don't have rewarding, fulfilling jobs that challenge those people to do their best work each and every day. So at times, does that mean we have to be more patient? Do we have to truly understand and make connections? The answer is yes, yes, and yes. But there has been no hold put on jobs at this current time.
Thanks for that clarity and expanding on that a little bit more, Christie and Chris. One more question, and then I'll turn it over to you, Chris, for some closing remarks. This is from Serge Martin, and he is calling out, we're almost 2/3 of the way through Q2, which is crazy. I saw the calendar, and it is September next week. Where did business end up after Q1, and are we on pace, for our financial benchmarks?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Serge. And Serge, I know you're transitioning after being a tremendous team member for ATB Business or Business and Agriculture First and then ATB Business. So best of luck in your new opportunity with ATB Wealth. I know you'll do great and leave big shoes to fill. When I had a chance to talk to the board about our results, I compared it to sort of loading the family up in the family truckster, the metallic P, and heading off to Wally World. If you've ever seen the show Vacation, the drive to Wally World was not what anyone anticipated, but they ultimately got to their destination. And I think when we look back at, for sure, the first quarter, we got very close to our end goal from a financial standpoint. We were slightly behind our net income target, but very, very slightly. I would round up as an internal optimist that we got to where we wanted to get to, but the path to get there was vastly different than we anticipated. So what we saw was the market conditions created greater pressure on other income and created a challenging environment for a large part of the capital markets team, specifically on the investment banking, financial markets group side of things. Whereas our spread business from both loans and deposits side sort of made up some of that gap from that standpoint. So when we look at the end of the first quarter, we see sort of performance on plan or very close to being on plan, but vastly different than how we anticipated. When we forecast the remainder of the year, I think that same theme holds true. We're not anticipating dramatically different market conditions. So we think the capital markets team will be under pressure for the remainder of the year and have tremendous confidence in Darren and Hugh and Rob and all of the work, Paul, that they're doing to make sure that we navigate those challenging market conditions and sort of do the best we can given what we've got to deal with from there. And they're doing a tremendous job from that standpoint right now. Then at the same side, from Myron and Brian's world, as well as Pete from the capital markets world, it is very much continuing what we've done through the first quarter and continuing the strong results from the experience we're providing to our clients, the volumes that we're able to do, and making sure we're doing those volumes at a price that makes sense for both us and for the client. We know it's a competitive environment out there, and it's easy to talk margins and net interest margin, but there is a reality of how our competitors are showing up too. So we just need that sort of foot back, continue to be pressed on the pedal, and the great job that everyone's doing from that side as well.
All right. We're right at time. Any last words from you?
Yeah, so once again, thank you very much. It is, as Serge pointed out, he saw the calendar and looked, and summer's just about over. So hopefully everyone's able to enjoy summer. If I don't get a chance to connect with you prior to the long weekend, I hope everyone has a great long weekend in September. You will see us make some changes to the cadence of the live streams and different things like that as we really look to engage and make sure that when we have a chance to connect with everyone, we're adding value from that standpoint, as we know that everyone's time is incredibly valuable. So Melissa has been great in helping the senior leadership team make sure we do that. So you'll hear about that in September. So thank you very much for everything you do, and have a great rest of the week and a great long weekend and a great kickoff to September.